Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Bhakti Vaibhav class. We'll begin with our prayers. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Brahmane Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadunitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanyam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Bhakti Vaibhav class. We are discussing from second canto, and last time we completed second chapter, I think. So the second chapter, in last few verses, Shukadeva Goswami gives his opinion about what is the best way, how to see the Lord, and he describes by sadhana bhakti, and then he describes how sadhana bhakti is the best. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan hari sarvatra sarvada shrotavyah kirtitavyascha smartavyo bhagavan nina. So these are the true, these are the ways in which sadhana bhakti should be performed. Sarvatmana rajan, always. Sarvatra sarvada. Bhakti is apratihata. Bhakti can be done anywhere. Sarvatra sarvada. There are no obstacles in the path of bhakti. Anywhere one can practice bhakti independent of their circumstances and social position. व्याधस्य चरणं ध्रुवस्य च वयो विद्या गजेन्द्रस्य का कुब्जाया कुमुनाम रूप अधिकम किं तत्सुदाम्नो धनम वंशस्को विदुरस्य यादवपते उग्रस्य किं पौरुषम भक्त्या तुष्यति केवलम न च गुणैः भक्तिर्प्रियो माधव. So it is described in this verse that there are various people who have achieved perfection by practice of bhakti independent of their position and status in the society. There was a dharma vyadha. There was a hunter mentioned in the Mahabharata. He was a great devotee of the Lord. And what was the age of Dhruva? 5 years old. What was the knowledge of Gajendra? He was an animal. What was the beauty of Kubja? She was an ugly lady. And Kim Tat Sudamno Dhanam, what was the wealth of Sudama? Vamshasko Vidurasya, what was the dynasty of Vidura? He was a low caste, born of a Shudrani. Ugrasya kim paurusham, what was the strength of Ugrasya? So therefore, bhakti is sarvatra sarvada. Bhaktya tushyati kevalam. Only Lord is pleased by. How to render that bhakti? Shrotavyaha, kirtitavyascha, smartavyo, bhagavan nina. That is exactly same verse, which has come in the beginning. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan, hari sarvatra sarvada, shrotavya, kirtitavyascha. Sorry. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan. तस्मात् एकेन मनसा भगवान सात्वतां पति श्रोतव्या कृतव्यश्च स्मर्तव्यश्च इच्छता अभयम. I think fifth verse, right? 215. And in the last verse, Dev Goswami gives two benefits of practicing this sadhana bhakti. One becomes purified of the polluted aim of life, and one attains supreme abode of the Lord. So in this way, Shukadeva Goswami says, I have described you the path which is followed by intelligent. So only intelligent people perform bhakti. Which verse says this? Yajanti sumedhasaha. Intelligent people practice bhakti. So therefore Shukadeva Goswami says, I have described you the path which is followed by intelligent person. And that's how he begins the next chapter. Third chapter, first verse. He's saying Shukadeva Goswami, he starts the verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evametan Nigatitam Prishtavan Yad Bhavan Mama Pranamyan Riyamananam Manusheshu Manishinam.
Shukadeva Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you.
So this is the answer. I have explained to you the path of direct mukti and krama mukti.
Okay.
And also the path which is followed by intelligent people, that is bhakti. So that is what Shukadeva Goswami he has given his verdict. So you have asked about a duty of a person is about to die. I have explained you the duty of a person is about to die and who is most intelligent. And then Prabhupada writes, in human society there are millions and millions of people, and almost all of them are less intelligent because they have little knowledge of spirit soul. Manushyanam sahasresh, thousands and thousands kuch log hi aate hain. And out of those who come, they take many millions of lives. Maybe bhunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So that's how Prabhupada is just starting this purport. Only few get the knowledge of spirit soul. Almost all of them have a wrong conception of life. In that verse, Maya Namam Dushkritano Mudha Prapadyante Naradham, Prabhupada writes, how many percent, what is the percentage Prabhupada writes? Naradham 3. It says 99.9 people, percent of the people are Naradham in this world. So, because they don't know the knowledge of soul. They identify with the gross and subtle body. They may be situated in different high and low positions in the society, but one should know definitely, unless one inquires about own self, all his activities are failure. Shrama eva hi kevalam. And therefore people, they do not know this. Maya mugdha jiver nahi swata Krishna gyan jivera kripaya koila Krishna Veda Puran. Which is a Bhagavatam verse corresponding to this. First chapter, first canto. चक्रे सात्वत संहिताम कैसे शुरू होता है वो? लोकस्य अजनतो विद्वंस चक्रे सात्वत संहिताम. People are suffering in this world, but they don't know how to come out of it. So therefore, Vyasdev has compiled this Bhagavat Satvat Samhita. How does it start? Chakre Satvat Samhita, very important verse. Lokasya ajanatu. योगेन मनसि सम्यक् प्रणीते मले पश्यत् पुरुषं पूर्णं माया तदपाश्रयम्. And anyways, we'll not spend time on this. So Prabhupada writes, one out of thousands of men, one may inquire about spirit self and thus consult the revealed scriptures like Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavatam. But in spite of such reading, unless one is in touch with a realized spiritual master, he cannot realize the real nature of the self. That's how. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse, Manushyanam Sahasreshu. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, prepared Vedic literatures in the incarnation of Vyasa. Prabhupada is putting the same verse. Madhya Leela 20, 122, 123. माया मुग्ध जीवेर नाही स्वतः कृष्ण ज्ञान जीवेर कृपाय कैला कृष्ण वेद पुराण. How does that work? How does it stand? अनर्थ उपशमम साक्षात भक्ति योगा मधोक्षजे लोकस्य अजनतो विद्वंस चक्रे सात्वत. People are suffering in this world because of their anarthas. They don't know how to come out of it. So therefore, Supreme Lord, he compiled Bhagavatam in the form of Vyasadeva. So, Prabhupada writes, the whole Bhakti Yoga process is therefore a revival of the lost relation. This revival is possible in the human form of life. So, Lord has appeared in the form of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Shastra, Guru, Roop, Atma, Rupe, Apanar, Janan. Lord reveals himself through Shastra, Guru and Atma, Chaitya Guru, through the scriptures and through spiritual masters. Lord reveals himself. Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jiver Hoy Gyan. So living entities, they realize that Krishna is my Prabhu and my Trata. Trata means deliverer, savior. So Lord makes it known through scriptures, through sages, and he comes himself. Prabhupada writes, the intelligent class of people should take note of this very seriously. Not all human beings are intelligent, so the importance of human life is not always understood. Manishinam. The word used is Manishinam. Manusheshu Manishinam. What is the duty of intelligent person? You should render devotional service. And that's how Prabhupada describes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared. Kathamrita. Manishinam person like Maharaj Parikshit must take to the lotus feet of Krishna and fully engage in devotional service, hearing, chanting, which are all Hari Kathamrita. And that's how Mahaprabhu has appeared to give us this. Aiche Prema, Aiche Nritya, Aiche Hari Dhvani, Kaha nahi dekhi yara, kaha nahi shuni. Prataprudra Maharaj is asking Sarvam Bhattacharya. All the devotees are coming from Bengal, first time to Navdeep, to Jagannath Puri, and he is a new devotee, right? Prataprudra has just become devotee. So Sarvam Bhattacharya is introducing everyone. He is Advaitacharya, he is Mukunda, and he is Vasudeva and all that. So he has never seen such wonderful kirtan. Bhattacharya kahe madhura vachan chaitanya ras srishti prema sankirtan. So he's saying this is the creation of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is giving this opportunity to chant and dance to everyone. So that's how Mahaprabhu is distributing this Hari Kathamrita. This action is specially recommended when one is preparing for death. So after telling that I have told you, right, I have described the path. Okay. So Shukdev Goswami, he is describing that I have described to you what is the duty of intelligent person. Now, here about the activities of those who are not intelligent. So now Shukdev Goswami says, I have told you the duty of intelligent people. Now here the duty of those who are not intelligent. And then not intelligent matlab kaun? Alpamedha saha. So now he is describing the demigod worship. The path chosen by less intelligent men. What is that path? Demigod worship. So 2 to 9, he describes the various types of demigod worships. Somebody can read just the translation of this whole thing. So in this he's just telling, if you want this, people they go to this devta, ye chahiye, to iske baad jate hain, good health, they worship sun, education, worship Saraswati, good wife, worship Uma, good husband, worship Katyayani, and all this, Lord Shiva. So that's what is this.
One who desires to be absorbed in the deep person of Brahma Jyoti, the Panjin should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra, and one who desires progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the supreme of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnation of Lord Shiva if he wants to be great hero. One who wants a large crop of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to obtain the heavenly planet should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishwa Deva. And one who wants to be popular with Janu Master should worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwit Mars. And a person desiring a strongly built body should worship God. One who desires stability in sports should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the society of the heavenly. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be greatly known in man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good material relation, he should worship Chef Goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva.
Okay, so that's how there are various demigod worships are mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami. They are for less intelligent people. Antavattu phalam teshan padbhavati alpamedesham. Why it is less intelligent? Why demigod worship is less intelligent?
Because they are not giving directly, they are dependent on the support Krishna. And whatever they give is the material which is temporary and short-lived.
Because it is temporary. Whatever is given by the Devatas, it is temporary. Devatas, they are themselves temporary, and the results which they give is also temporary. Therefore, it is not worth spending time and energy in worshipping Devatas and asking for material benedictions. But if somebody says, I have still material desires, what to do? So if you have material desires, then what to do? Then also, Shukadeva Goswami will say, even if you have material desires, still worship the Krishna. Don't ever worship, Devatas. So that is what is mentioned. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, there are different modes of worship for different people, desiring success in particular objects. The conditioned soul living within the purview of material world cannot be an expert in every type of materially enjoyable asset. But one can have considerable influence over a particular matter by worshipping a particular demigod. And then Prabhupada gives example of Lord Shiva. How Lord Shiva, he became powerful. He gives the example of Ravana. He worshipped Lord Shiva. So Ravana, he worshipped Lord Shiva. He became powerful. So therefore, there are different type of people who are in different modes and they worship different devatas. And they get the result. Ravana, he became so powerful by the grace of Lord Shiva that all the devatas were afraid of him until he at last challenged Supreme Lord and thus ruined himself.
This one, I think many of us are not aware. People worship demigod for anything.
Sorry?
They're very categorically said who has to worship for what.
Yes.
But most of
This
them,
may equal.
many of them they worship Lakshmi Devi and any demigod they worship for anything.
Yeah.
Even that knowledge is.
Yes. Okay. So in Kali Yuga, actually, there is no proper knowledge of anything. मुझे लगता है लक्ष्मी देवी की पूजा करने से ये मिलेगा, ठीक है, इनकी पूजा कर लेते हैं. So therefore, actual knowledge is missing. Even demigod worship, it is not an easy thing. People say that demigod worship gives quick result. Chipram himanushe loke siddhi bhavati karmaja, Krishna says. But people, when they worship devatas, and for one reason, one thing they want and they worship this devata, other thing they want, they worship this devata. So देवताओं का भी कुछ ईगो होता है भाई. You see Indra, इतने सालों तक पूजा किया, एक साल नहीं किया, and he became so angry. So actually if we are worshipping one devata for some time and then इसकी पूजा कर छोड़ के इनका कर लेते हैं पूजा. So then this person will also think ना मेरी पूजा छोड़ के दूसरे का जा रहा है. Because they are not pure, always. Potentially they are pure devotees, but just that they also have their conditioning sometimes. So it is a very risky affair to worship devatas, and keep going from one devata to another devata. Just इनकी पूजा करने से ये मिलेगा, इनकी पूजा करने से ये मिलेगा. That knowledge is itself missing. So that's how better to worship Krishna, and even if we have material desires. What's the difference between asking Krishna for material desires and asking all the devatas for material desires?
Krishna will give only if it is fit to you to prosper and progress in Krishna consciousness.
Otherwise, he will not give.
He will not give.
He will not give anything material.
No. He will give, but not what is you desire. What is appropriate to you, he will give.
Okay.
He will declare a desire only for that material thing. The way he will give.
Yes. Anyone else? Yeah, that's how Krishna works. Krishna, he gives, he fulfills the desires. For sure, he fulfills material desires also. ऐसा नहीं है कि कृष्ण के पास तो कुछ भौतिक चीज मिलती नहीं है, तो मेरी तो इतनी सारी इच्छाएं हैं, आप तो पहले ही ना धर्म ना जन्म ना सुंदरी बुलवा देते हैं, डे वन पे ही बुलवा देते हैं आप लोग. So where should I go? Krishna says, Satyam dishati arthitam arthito nrinam naivartho yat punararthitam. It is true that I fulfill the desires. Arthitam arthito nrinam. नैवार्थ दोयत, ऐसा नहीं देंगे कि दोबारा मांगेंगे. नैवार्थ दोयत पुनरर्थिताम यथा. How does he do that? स्वयं विधत्ते भजताम अनिच्छताम इच्छा विधानम निजपाद पल्लवम. He gives himself. He enters the lives of devotees. He says, okay, you want material thing, okay, I'll also come along with that. Is it okay? Anichchatam, इच्छा ना होते हुए भी, even if devotee says, I only want material desires, I worship you only for material desires, Krishna says, nahi, 1 + 1 3. I always come with my, whatever I give, I also come. That's how Krishna removes that seed of desire only. कृष्ण कहे आमा भजे मागे विषय सुख अमृत छाड़ी विषय मागे ही पढ़ मूर्ख आमी विज्ञ मूर्ख विषय के न दीभा स्वचरणामृत दिया विषय भुलाई. That's how Krishna works. He is worshipping me and he is asking for material things. He is fool. यही बड़ा मूर्ख. कोई बात नहीं, ये मूर्ख है, मैं तो इंटेलिजेंट हूँ. आमी विज्ञ, I will not give him sense gratification. ऐसा नहीं तो कि वापस मांगे. So that's what happened to Dhruva.
Yes. So which verse is that? Previous one or the?
That is from 5th canto. All the devatas are praying. Jambudvip mein, heavenly planets mein devatas are praying to the Lord. Satyam dishati arthitam arthito nrinam. I can give you the exact reference. This is from 5th canto. Ichha pidhanam. That is the most important one. Ichha pidhanam. Lord's lotus feet fulfills everything, all material desires. Ichha pidhanam. Yes, this is verse 5:19:27. So that's how, even if we have material desires, better to go to Krishna and ask for those material desires. For sure, if they are sinful, he'll never give. But if they are not sinful, but if the devotee wants, चलो थोड़ा इंद्र तृप्ति मिल जाए तो क्या problem है? Krishna says, okay, I'll give, no problem. How? Chaturveda Vajante Mam, Arto Artharthi. Whatever you have desire, please come to me, I'll give. But I will purify the material desire also. So, Prabhupada continues. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that there are those who are bereft of all good sense and whose intelligence is withdrawn by diluting energy. Antavattu phalam tesham. Yes, aspire to achieve all sorts of material enjoyment by pleasing the Devatas or by advancing in material civilization. The real problem of life is to solve for old age, disease, and death. No one wants to change his birthright. No one wants to meet death. No one wants to be old. And no one wants to diseases. But these problems are solved neither by the grace of Devatas nor by so-called advancement of material science. Only devotional service can solve all these problems. So therefore, those people who worship Krishna, they are very rare. In Srimad Bhagvatam as well as Bhagavad Gita, such less intelligent persons have been described as devoid of all good sense. Shukdev Goswami said that out of 84 lakh species, the human form is rare and valuable. And out of those rare human beings, still more rarer are those who are conscious of value of Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatma koti shvapi mahamne. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Muktanam api siddhanam. Out of many, many perfected beings, there are only few who are Narayana Parayana. And those who are Narayana Parayana, there are Sudurlabha Prashantatma Kotishvapi. Out of thousands of Siddhas, there is only one Narayana Parayana. That is a rare thing. But Parikshit Maharaj has been addressed by the Goswami as Manishi. Because at the time of death, he left all material enjoyment and surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, next verse. Dharmartha uttam shlokam Canto tanvan pitranyajet Raksha kama punyajanan Pujas kamo marutganan.
Worship Lord or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge and for protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty, one should worship the various demigods.
So then this he's saying Dharma Artha Uttama Shloka. So for spiritual advancement, worship the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. Tantu Tanvan Pitrim Yaji. And one should worship the residents of Pitri Loka for the protection of heredity. So all these Pitris, they are also Devatas. They are one kind of Devatas. So therefore, to worship, to protect the dynasty, one should worship the Pitris. So therefore, all these things are described. And then in the 9th verse, he says, somebody can read the translation.
One who desires domination over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. One who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of the material should worship the moon.
Yes. So ultimately, he says, if you have no material desire, then worship the Supreme Lord. What if you have material desires? Then he says in the next verse. That will come. For a Prabhupada writes in the purport. For a liberated person, all enjoyments listed above are considered useless. Only those who are conditioned by material energy are captivated by different types of material enjoyment. भाग्य में नहीं है आज इसको That's how bhagya works. कितने इतना भी प्रयास कर लीजिए। ओके, ठीक है। है ना, एक बार वो स्टोरी है ना, गरुड़ जी आते हैं, देखते हैं यमराज has come and he is looking at a sparrow again and again. उनको दया आती है, लगता है मरने वाली है, so he took that in a bird and this यमराज smiles at that sparrow, तो समझ जाते हैं मरने वाली। वो दूर छोड़ के आता है, तो आके बोलते हैं अरे क्यों स्माइल, व्हाई आर यू स्माइलिंग? नहीं नहीं, आई वाज थिंकिंग ये छोटी सी चिड़िया उतना दूर कैसे जाएगी मरने के लिए। चलो,
That he did not switch on, he just connected there.
ओके ओके, ठीक है, ये कबार अच्छा होता है भाई। अरे ठीक। Only those who are conditioned by material energy are captivated, not everyone. So therefore, transcendentalists, they have no material desires. So, all these various types of karmis, jnanis, yogis, they have material desires. But still, therefore, because they have material desires, they are always disturbed and restless. Which verse says this? Karmis, jnanis, yogis, because they have material desires, they are restless.
Kami, Shanta, Bhakta, Shanta.
मुक्ति मुक्ति बुद्धि कामी सकली अशांत कृष्ण भक्त निष्काम अतएव शांत। ठीक है। The Lord has proclaimed that materialists who desire material enjoyment and seek favor of devatas are not in control of their senses and give themselves to nonsense. So that's how, people, because they are not able to understand that, okay, this sense gratification will lead to misery. यही संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुख योनया एवते, वो समझता नहीं है. Although they may be hearing many times, but still इतना भी नहीं होगा. इसको वाले कुछ ज्यादा एक्सैजरेशन कर देते हैं ना. लोग बोलते हैं आप लोग ये डेथ के बारे में बहुत बोलते हैं, बहुत डराते हैं आप लोग. That's how, people, they don't want to see the realities of life. अरे मरने वाले हैं तो अभी इतना क्यों डरा रहे हैं, ऐसा क्यों, ऐसा बोलते. Even if you don't talk about it, you come. So therefore, better to understand and try to find out a way to escape this. One should not therefore desire any sort of material enjoyment, being sensible enough to worship the Supreme Lord. The leaders of nonsensical persons are still more nonsensical, because they preach openly and foolishly that they can worship any form of demigod and get the same result. That is the philosophy. Yato mat, tato pat. Whatever you want, you worship. किसी की भी पूजा करो. All paths lead to the same goal. And Prabhupada says gives a very classic example of what to refute this philosophy. All paths don't lead to the same goal. For example,
Trains not going to the same stations.
Yeah.
All trains are not same stations.
Yes. So if you board a train to Calcutta and you say I want to go to Delhi, कोई भी ट्रेन में बैठ जाओ. All paths lead to same goal. नहीं होता है. Similarly, all paths do not lead to Krishna. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrini yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajino bhima. That is very clear. Somebody worships Devta, they'll go to Devta. Worships Pitris, they'll go to Pitri. Worship me, they'll come to me. There is another verse, which says, Mama vartamanu vartante manushya par sarvasha ye thamam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya par. What does that mean? All paths lead to me. यही बोल रहे हैं ना कृष्णा. Mama vartamanu, everybody is ultimately following my path only. Not all paths lead to me, saying. Ultimately, everybody is following my path. Mama vartamanu vartante. कैसे समझेंगे? Is Krishna contradicting himself?
No, gradually, though, all the demigod worship and everything, they want us to approach Krishna only. So this is a gradual process. So if we are taking up different paths, so ultimately the in one way we'll reach Krishna. Like that.
Anything
No,
else?
it is not possible. Anybody cannot reach Krishna like that.
Hmm.
Because the seed of the bhakti, it doesn't acquire so easily.
It will come. It will come in this section
So
only.
somebody like Vaishnava meets him, he gives the seed.
Exactly यही आता है इसमें. He'll ask, अरे किसी का भी worship करेंगे पहुंच जाएंगे नहीं? For that you have to get association of devotees. Okay, ठीक है. So why Krishna is saying then this?
It is like this. Suppose somebody is doing a lot of mistakes in the life. He keeps on doing mistakes and mistakes. But get birth after birth after birth, ब्रह्मांडे भ्रमिते पूर्ण भाग्य कभी ना कभी उसको वैष्णव की दया से उसको मिल जाता है.
मम वर्तमानु वर्तन्ते नहीं हो रहा है इसमें. All paths ultimately, everybody is following my path only. Krishna is ultimately saying this.
But in the purpose it is written.
Worship, all the worship reaches Krishna. Worshipper doesn't reach Krishna.
Okay. Like all demigods are also basically offering
जो
whatever
भी
they
है,
get.
everybody is ultimately
भगवान-
following मेरा ही बनाया हुआ path follow कर रहे हैं, but they will not reach me.
Correct.
They will reach their destination. So the worshipper will stay there. Worship will come to Krishna
Okay. Offerings will come
through devatas. That's how we have to understand this. Okay, so Prabhupada writes, this sort of preaching is not only against the teachings of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, but it is also foolish. Just as it is foolish to claim that purchase of any travel ticket one may reach the same destination. Then after a few lines, Prabhupada writes, pure devotional service means service to Lord without any material desires, including the desire for fruitive activity and empiric speculation. That is anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. That is Prabhupada's paraphrasing here. Generally, the Lord does not fulfill anyone's material desires for sense enjoyment, but he awards such benedictions to worshippers of the Lord, for they ultimately come to the point of not desiring material enjoyment. That's what very nicely Prabhupada is writing that same. Satyam dishati artitam artitoninam naivar doyat punartha. He is paraphrasing here. So therefore, many times Prabhupada is just paraphrasing various verses that will have to keep, seeing. अच्छा यहाँ पे ये श्लोक को Prabhupada लिख रहे हैं. Ultimately, he purifies a devotee of material enjoyment. In one verse, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says here, Ananya Chintayantu Mam Yogakshemam Mamyam. I provide what my devotee lacks, I protect what he has. Sudama was the poorest of the Brahmana. Why he didn't give Sudama wealth? देना चाहिए था ना. Protect, he provides what he lacks.
Because he did not desire for it. He just desired for pure devotion.
He didn't desire for it. And there are two types of pure devotees. One devotee, Chakravarti Thakur writes this in the purport. One type of pure devotee, he is okay with whatever Krishna gives or not. देंगे तो भी कुछ, नहीं देंगे तो भी कुछ. Other type of devotee, he doesn't want only. मुझे चाहिए ही नहीं. That was Sudama. तो चाहिए ही नहीं तो how Krishna will give? That's why Krishna didn't give. Therefore, if you have material desire, Krishna will give. And if you have no material desires, Krishna will not give. And even if you are poor, Akama, and if you have some material desire, Krishna will give and purify that material desire. That's how Krishna acts and deals with different devotees differently. इच्छा है नहीं देंगे और नहीं इच्छा है तो Krishna will say ठीक है. If he has no desire, I'll not give. And if he is okay, मिलेगा तो भी चलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा तो भी चलेगा. Then Krishna will give for sure. Because Krishna doesn't like to see his devotees suffering. He likes to see his devotees living peacefully. And that's why, he gives all the devotees sufficient amount of material enjoyment also. See Prahlad Maharaj's case. Narsimdev told you enjoy for many, many years. Dhruv Maharaj, 36,000 years. That's how Krishna is.
Also, Krishna couldn't reciprocate immediately because he was feeling not comfortable because Brahma gave everything, what, or in fact more than he borrowed and gave. And he could not. So he has provided, made an arrangement, but he could not. He was feeling
Yes.
and that he's not eligible to do that.
Dama gave everything, but I have unlimited. How can I give my unlimited things to you? Just like Shukdev Goswami gives the example of rains. Generally previous times, rains would only happen at night. Why? Because the rains, clouds think, "Arey, this farmer has given his everything. So, and what am I giving? I have unlimited. Kya deunga main pura? He has given his everything, so let me give him when he is not seen." So that's why rain should shower at night. The example Chakravarti Thakur also gives. Conclusion is that one must minimize the desire for material enjoyment, and for this, one should worship the Supreme Lord, who is described here as Param. Akamaha Purushah Param. Okay, next verse, very, very classic verse. Akama Sarva Kamo Va
Akama sarva kama
A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead.
The person desiring to destroy all material desires, or kamaha, should worship the Supreme Lord. They are desireless. Or there are two meanings of the word akama. Those who are desireless and those who want to destroy their material desires. They should worship Supreme Lord. Bhaktas who only desire to serve the Supreme Lord, they are akama. Sarva kama va, they are full of desires. Karmis, they are full of desires. They want higher happiness. Moksha kama, those who want liberation. Jnanis, they desire happiness of Brahman. Udaradhi, and persons with broader intelligence, what they should do? Tivrena Yogena, with great force, by devotional service, Yajeta, should worship Purusham Param. So that's how this process of bhakti is for everyone. For bhaktas, for karmis, for jnanis, for everyone. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that moksha kama is mentioned separately in order to cut down people's thought that they are without desire. No. They are not without desire. Kama. What is the desire? Moksha kama. The desire for liberation is also a material desire. Anything which is not connected to Krishna and serving Krishna, that is material. Or the word indicates that the person desiring liberation is even more filled with desire than person desiring material comfort. That is interesting. Karmis, they are less than jnanis. For jnanis, their material desire is much more than karmis. That is how Bhagavatam sees. Because
Very determined.
Very determined, because they are ready to do any tapasya to get liberation, because they think वहां पे जो है वहां यहाँ पे नहीं है. So that's how karmis, their tendency to enjoy is less than the jnani tendency to enjoy. That is very important. The word kama itself indicates that a desire to destroy suffering and attain happiness. That is there. That is the general meaning of kama, right? I want to destroy my suffering. Now I want to experience happiness. Those desires are shown to be stronger in jnanis, engaged in destroying the suffering of their sansar and anxious for experience of the happiness of Brahman. The jnanis, they want such unlimited happiness of Brahman that they are ready to go to any extent. So when we see all these Mayavadis and Sannyasis, they are doing all this intense tapasya, we should understand that they are more than karmis. Because karmis, they are happy with little bit of enjoyment of this world. ज्ञानीज को नहीं, ये संसार का एंजॉयमेंट नहीं चाहिए, ब्रह्म सुख चाहिए. That is in a bigger type of material desire. The devotees are engaged only in giving happiness. They are not interested in any happiness for themselves. They are just interested in serving the Lord. They are nishkama. Then Prabhupada writes in the purport, Supreme Lord is described as Purushottama, one who awards liberation to jnanis by absorbing them in Brahma Jyoti. After a few lines, Prabhupada writes, in the previous chapters, it has been stated that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of karma and jnana. And in the same way, it is mentioned that it is emphatically declared that Bhakti Yoga is ultimate goal of different varieties of worship of Devatas also. So Bhakti Yoga now, so we should understand what Deva Goswami is doing. First he told Bhakti is the supreme. Bhakti Yoga kya? You have made, declaration ki this is supreme. What about other? What about karmis? What about jnanis? What about yogis? So previous chapters he described yogis and jnanis. Now he is describing how Bhakti is superior to all the worship of the Devatas also. Bhakti Yoga, being the supreme means of self-realization, is recommended here. Everyone must therefore seriously take up the methods of Bhakti Yoga. Even though one aspires for material enjoyment or liberation, whatever desire you have, worship Krishna. Krishna will give everything. And then Prabhupada describes akamaha. What is the meaning of akamaha? In 2.71 Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada describes what is real desirelessness.
Desiring only for Krishna.
Yeah, exact thing which Prabhupada writes in 2.70, I think. Vihaya kaman yas sarvan kumam sharati nispriya nirmamo nanankara sashantim madhigacchati. That Prabhupada describes what is real desirelessness. 2.70. Very wonderful definition.
One seven is Apurya
70.
17.
70. Oh, sorry. 69. Real desirelessness somewhere Prabhupada is right. Vihaya kaman kaha? Oh, 71. Sorry. Vihaya kaman is 71. Yes. Real desirelessness is desire for satisfaction of Krishna, not an artificial attempt to abolish desire. Living entity cannot be desireless or senseless, but he does have to change the quality of desires. Therefore, we cannot become desireless. We cannot become, void of desires, because mind can never be empty. Mind has to have some desires. Prabhupada writes, desireless means not to be inert like stone, but to be conscious of one's actual position. So that is actually akamaha. So akama means to be conscious of one's actual position. Ata pumbhe dvija sreshta varnashram vivagashya svanushritasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. All the rules and regulations of the varnashram is mentioned for haritoshanam. It is only for satisfaction of the Lord. People want to satisfy themselves by social activity, but that doesn't satisfy. So that is how we have to understand. And Prabhupada always tells about philanthropy, altruism, and nationalism, socialism. They are all extended sense gratification.
2.3.
Prabhupada continues. In the mundane field, such an outlook of doing good to others in the form of society, community, family, country is a partial manifestation of the original feeling in which pure living entity feels happiness by the happiness of the Lord. That's what we have to revive. This consciousness of becoming happy by serving the Lord. It is an alien concept in this world, because everybody thinks, how can I be happy by serving others? There is only one happiness. Like if somebody serves me, then I will be happy. But spiritual world, material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Where it is mentioned? Urdhva Moolam Adhikāram. So whatever is the highest in the material world is lowest in the spiritual world. And what is lowest is the highest in the material spiritual world. So lowest in the material world is to become servant of somebody, because servant means exploitation, no freedom, abuse, no rights. But in the spiritual world, servants enjoy more than the masters. So that is the feeling, and that is the desire we have to develop. That is the complete shift a living entity has to make from serving oneself to serving Krishna. That is the biggest shift a living entity can take in this world, can do. Otherwise, the conception of being a master is so very strong that the conception of servant doesn't go in. दास 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 अनुदास वो बोलना बहुत आसान है. When we come to Krishna consciousness, then we are in that mood. सब प्रभु मैं तो दास दास अनुदास. After spending few years, दास दास. After spending few more years, दास. then उसके बाद कोई प्रभु नहीं बोला तुमने, प्रभु नहीं बोला, नाम से बुला रहा है. We may not say it out of courtesy, but that is very deeply rooted. At least I can say about myself, but I don't know about others. So that's how, this whole Bhagavatam tells, Prabhupada is hammering this one thing. We have to, take out this mentality of becoming a master and learn to enjoy the happiness of being servant. Krishna Das Abhiman Ei Anand Sindhu Koti Brahma Sukh Nahe Tare Ek Bindu. The happiness of becoming servant cannot be compared to millions of Brahmananda. That's why all the big people, they want to become servant. Chaitanya Das Umoi, Chaitanya Das, Chaitanya Das Tar Das Anudas. Advaitacharya is saying, who is that? Mahavishnu. महाविष्णु बोल रहे हैं मुझे दास बनना है, शिव जी बोल रहे हैं दास बनना है. All the big devatas, Nityanand Prabhu is saying, I want to become das. And ordinary living entity, 1 by 10,000 of the tip of hair, is saying, I want to become boss. So just see the contradiction in the desires. The biggest of the personalities of universe want to become das. और हम lowest and the most insignificant, हम क्या है? Boss. So that is the whole paradigm shift. It is not so easy. So therefore, the more we hear, the more at least we should at least develop a desire to have this desire कि भाई किसी दिन तो मुझे सच में ये experience करना है. When Prabhupada writes in that purport 15.7. तद्भाषयते सूर्यो न शशांको न पावक, उसमें प्रभुपाद लिखते हैं, one should develop a desire to go to the spiritual world by hearing such descriptions. So it all starts with the desire. So jitna whatever we are reading, hearing, we are developing, we are doing it for one reason, to develop a desire. इच्छा तो प्रकट करेंगे कि भाई चाहिए, I want it, then it will come. So Prabhupada writes, in mundane field, one wants to only enjoy. In mundane field, such an outlook of doing good to others in the form of society, community, family, country is a partial manifestation of the same original feeling in which a pure living entity feels happiness by the happiness of the Lord. Such superb feelings are exhibited by damsels of Brajabhumi. Gopis loved the Lord without any return. This is the perfect exhibition of akamaha. आत्मेंद्रिय प्रति वांछा तारे बोली काम, कृष्णेंद्रिय प्रति इच्छा धरे प्रेमना. प्रगाढ़ प्रेमे रे स्वभाव आचार, निज दुख विघ्न आदि न करे विचार. That is the definition of love. निज दुख विघ्न आदि न करे विचार. So Madhavendra Puri story mein this verse comes. So these people who are akama, they are udaradhi, Prabhupada writes. They have a broader outlook. People with desires of material enjoyment, they are ritagyana, they have lost their intelligence. But those who are akama, they are udaradhi. One cannot attain any result from demigod without getting sanction from the Lord. Because ultimately, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I only give the Shraddha to the Devata worshippers to worship the Devata, and I only give the result. श्रद्धा भी मैं दे रहा हूँ, पूजा करो, और देवताओं को भी शक्ति I am only giving. यो यो याम याम तनुम भक्ता श्रद्धया अर्चितुम इच्छति तस्य तस्याचलाम श्रद्धाम तामेव विदधाम्यहम्. जो भी श्रद्धा है I am only giving. ततया श्रद्धया युक्तः तस्याराधनम् इहते लभते च ततः कामान् मया एव विहितान् हितान्. And I am giving the result also. He is not envious. देवता की पूजा कर रहे हैं, why I should help you? That's how Krishna is a accommodative God. He is not a sectarian God. मेरे पास नहीं आएंगे ना, I will not give anything. At least he has come to some of my ministers. Ultimately, one day he will come to me also. That's how Krishna thinks. Okay, so after hearing this, one may ask that, okay, I am a demigod worshipper. When will I get faith to worship the Lord? Question I know. When? Is it that just by demigod worshippers gradually elevate to Tivra Bhakti? Naturally graduate? होता है क्या ऐसा? So, Sukadeva Goswami describes the next verse. How the demigod worshippers come to the level of bhakti. Etavaneva yajatam.
एतावानेव जयताम्
Iha nishreyasodayah. Bhagvatya chalo bhavo.
भगवत्सलो यद्भागवता संकतः
Can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the supreme person of body, only by the association of pure devotion.
Etavan eva yajatam. All the different kinds of demigod worshippers. Iha, in this world, Nishraya Sodaya, they can attain the highest perfection. How? What is the highest perfection? Bhagavati Achalo Bhavo. That is the highest perfection. To attain unflinching love for the Supreme Lord. Kaise milega? Yad Bhagavata Sangataha. Only by association of pure devotees it is possible. So it is not that देवता वर्शिप करते करते एक दिन अपने आप अंदर से प्रेरणा आ जाएगी कि भाई चलो आज से कृष्ण की पूजा करेंगे. That will never happen. Only by association of devotees. Not pure devotee, any devotee. Pure devotee तो फिर बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा उसके लिए. Any devotee, anyone, any devotee, because Krishna has given that contract to his devotee. किसको देना है दे दो मेरे को. That's how Krishna has made devotees whole and soul distributor of bhakti. सच में, that is the only thing. कृष्णा से तुम्हारे कृष्णा दिते पारे तुम्हारे शक्ति आछे. आमी तो कंगाल कृष्णा कृष्णा बोली धाई तब पाछे. भगवती अचलो भावो यद भागवत संगतम. केवल भक्तों के संग से ही होगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, after the worshippers of various devatas have their desires fulfilled, what goal do they achieve? Sukadeva Goswami says nothing. They don't achieve anything by fulfilling their material desires. But if they receive mercy of devotees, then they attain bhakti. अगर devotees का संग नहीं मिलेगा तो whatever कितना भी देवताओं की पूजा कर लो, they will not attain anything, because all the things which devatas give, they are temporal. It is as good as nothing. But from Bhagavatam perspective, anything less than bhakti मतलब वो गाली देते हैं. कुछ भी हो तुम, whatever you may be, however powerful you may be, भक्त है क्या? नहीं है. बाहर. As good as you don't even exist. मतलब वो क्या है? यस्यास्ति भक्ति भगवती या किंचना, that is classic verse. Well, we see so many people in this world showing good qualities, right?
Yes.
मतलब भागवत में डिवोटी है क्या? नहीं है ना डिवोटी, नो गुड क्वालिटीज. So that's how Bhagavatam begins. Because all the good qualities, the ultimate purpose of good qualities is what? सब कृष्णा ना.
Serving Krishna.
सेवा नहीं कर रहे हैं तो क्या फायदा इतना सब अच्छा क्वालिटी का? That's how Sukadeva Goswami tells this. So that's how we have to see these Bhagavatam verses. We cannot just go out and tell Bhagavatam में लिखा है कितना भी अच्छा क्वालिटी हो, डिवोटी नहीं है ना, फालतू है. No, it is not like that. They have some credentials, but when it is compared to bhakti, it is nowhere. That's how Sukadeva Goswami gives all these strong words. If you are not harao abhaktasya kuto madhuna, where is good quality if you are not a devotee?
But it will also say like that, some good quality in person. That is the coming from the Lord only.
Yes, correct.
So we should see like that. We should not condemn him, but we know that he is not bhakta, means he is not in our.
This is for our understanding. Whenever we see something from and we hear something in the scriptures, this is not a weapon given to us. जाके सबको मार के आओ, सबको गाली दे के आओ, devotee नहीं है मतलब no good quality. No, it is for our own understanding. It's like if somebody says, karma मतलब क्या है, पिछले जन्मों का पूरे कर्मों का फल है. So if somebody is suffering and we say कर्मों का फल मिल रहा है, मालूम है? That is not the way we have to use philosophy. And when we see somebody suffering, we have to be sympathetic. We have to, pacify them, give some solace to that person. तो ऐसा समय पे फिलोसफी मत यूज करिए कि बोले कि मैं किसी के पास भी जाऊंगा, इस्पान वालों के पास नहीं जाऊंगा. People have burnt bridges. We have to make bridges that they can ultimately come this side. By our forceful preaching, if somebody thinks कुछ भी करूंगा मरूंगा लेकिन इस्कॉन में नहीं जाऊं, they don't know how to speak also. और वो डिवोटी सोचता मैं तो फिलोसफी बोल रहा था. I never said anything against Bhagavatam. But you should know when to speak. So speaking appropriately is also very important. वो अनुद्वेग कर्म वाक्य वो खाली फिलोसफी में बोलने के लिए नहीं है. भगवत गीता क्लास में हमने बोल दिया, भक्ति शास्त्री हो गया, बस. That's how, जो भी फिलोसफी सुन रहे हैं, use it very carefully. It is weapon.
When you go out, how to speak is very important. When to speak, what to speak.
Even if you are right, if you don't say it right, you are wrong.
Correct.
So you have to say it right also.
तो प्रभु जी
सही बोल रहे हैं लेकिन सही तरह से नहीं बोल रहे हैं ना. गए. Yes, प्रभु जी.
so the devotee what we understood is devotee faith of pure faith in the Lord's mercy, na? So we are talking about devotee means devotee with the pure faith, na? Devotee, what we are talking about, Krishna, who he can give us bestow to bhakti to others, is we are talking about devotee with the pure faith.
See, all devotees, once they develop this basic understanding that I want to develop devotional service, that is a bhakta. That has a seed of devotion. And anybody who has got the seed of devotion has little faith, he can spread this to others. See, that is the very general understanding. If we are at, if we are on first floor, we can, pull somebody till that floor only, right? So, the neophyte devotee, if he tells somebody, he will give his own faith only. उतना उसकी जितनी श्रद्धा है उतना ही वो दे सकता है ना. So that's how, but he can give something. He has shraddha. So a neophyte devotee can also preach. And see, in the case of Dhruv Maharaj, Suniti, we don't know, she may be a pure devotee, but apparently, it is not described explicitly that she was perfected being. So when Dhruva was about to go back home, back to Godhead, he said, "Arey, meri maa, unka kya hoga?" Prabhupada writes that the purport that that is a devotee, and that is the power of devotional service also. Even though Suniti, she was not a pure devotee, she may not be or she may be, but she guided Dhruva to become a pure devotee. And the Srimad devotee was telling a story at one time they were doing book distribution and a drunkard came and said, Bhagavad Gita चाहिए. पढ़ना पढ़ पाएंगे? हाँ पढ़ूंगा दो. So he said, कितने का है? 100 रुपए. He gave money and then he went and then he came back and said, दो और चाहिए. तुम क्या करने गए? So झगड़ा वगड़ा करके लेके गया तुम भगवत गीता. And then after a few days he comes back and he says, I also want to help in book distribution. Drunk, पिया हुआ है. So he said, अभी devotee बोले क्या बोलेंगे? ठीक है भाई, उधर खड़ा किया. तो उधर खड़ा रहा, हमारे साथ मत खड़ा होना. So he is also distributing Bhagavad Gita and he gives to one person and this person takes the book and then he becomes a devotee. He starts chanting and he becomes a good devotee. And then after some years, I think 1 year or so, he was doing book distribution. And the same drunkard came again, Bhagavad Gita chahiye. So then this person thought, ye mere ko Bhagavad Gita diya hai. He made me a devotee. Let me help him. So that's how he started preaching to him, and then ultimately he gave up drinking also. He also started chanting. So that is how the process of devotional service works. The drunkard also can make somebody a devotee. So that is the power of devotional service. So that's how anybody can give devotional service. If a devotee has devotional service, bhakti very strongly in his heart, he can give for sure. But if a person has no devotional credentials, but still, the book has the power. Because every person has some sukriti from his past lives and he needs or she needs one spark. So it works both ways. So any new bhakta can also give devotion. And even if person is a non-devotee, you see the case of Prabhupada, who brought him? Narendra Malik. He never became devotee. He was already a pure devotee. Okay. So Chakravarti Thakur continues. The worshippers of the Devatas will attain the highest good, Nishreyasodaya, if an attitude of service to the Lord arises because of the association with devotee. Only association of devotee can create auspiciousness. Otherwise, no good arises. Because Devatas, they cannot bestow any good. They cannot bestow highest good. Okay. Then Prabhupada writes that from Brahma to an ant, everybody is struggling in this world. This struggle for existence is something like following the will-o'-the-wisp under the spell of material enjoyment. Will-o'-the-wisp. Yeah, the will-o'-the-wisp. What is the actual meaning of will-o'-the-wisp? नहीं बिलो द विस्प मतलब आकाश पुष्पायते कैवल्यम नरकायते हृदयपुर आकाश पुष्पायते flowers in the sky, flowery words कभी मिलता नहीं. Flowery words, flowers in the sky, can we get that flowers in the sky, growing in the sky? कभी मिलेगा नहीं, but लगता है कि मिल जाएगा. That is how the happiness of the world is, following the will-o'-the-wisp. It is all phantasmagoria, another word which we have learned in Krishna consciousness. Phantasmagoria. तो बहुत सारा वर्ड सीखा हमने ना, हमारा vocabulary बहुत अच्छा हो गया इस पान में. All the plans for material enjoyment, either by worship of devatas or by modern advancement, are illusory only. For despite all the plans, one cannot stop the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. So therefore, ultimately, Prabhupada writes, all the human endeavors should be only done for one purpose, to attain Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, even if you go to the Brahma Loka, you cannot achieve perfection. You have to come back. Okay, so then, last paragraph, Prabhupada writes. Okay. Therefore, unless the gross materialist or the worshipper of the devatas come in contact with a transcendentalist like pure devotee, Their attempts are simply a waste of energy. Only by the grace of pure devotees one can achieve pure devotion, which is the highest perfection. Only a pure devotee can show the right way of practical life. There are two types of pure devotees. ते भक्त गण होय द्विविध प्रकार पार्षद गण आर पारिषद गण आर साधक गण आर. There are two types of pure devotees. तो प्योर डिवोटीज उनके लगता है प्योर डिवोटी मतलब ऐसा लिखा तो रहता नहीं है ना प्योर डिवोटी, टैग तो रहता नहीं है, ऑफिस के बाहर रहता नहीं है ना प्योर डिवोटी. How to understand if somebody is a pure devotee or not? There are two types of pure devotee. One is actually a pure devotee and one who is aspiring to be a pure devotee. Parishad gan are sadhak gan are, both are pure, potentially pure devotees. So one should not judge anyone. ये तो अभी pure devotee नहीं है, इसका अपराध करेंगे चलेगा. Okay. So then continues that. It says, it
Hare
is
Krishna,
in,
Prabhuji.
yes.
Prabhuji, can you please explain these two terms? So how we can understand these two terms? Sadhaka se puri devotee
Parshad and Sadhak. Parshad is a pure devotee who have realized their relationship with Krishna. They are Parshad Gan. Sadhak matlab all of us, Sadhak Gan are, they are also trying to be pure. One who has become pure, other who is trying to be pure. It is not there to make us feel that अरे मुझे मालूम ही नहीं था.
ಇಲ್ರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ತೇನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಡ್ರೆಸ್ ನೀನು
So it is for us to understand the glory of other devotees. You know, Prabhupada would tell, right? If you realize bagal mein kaun baitha, you will faint, right? Because who is that person in the spiritual world? Who knows? He may be a gopa or a great devotee or whoever. So this is for us to increase the appreciation of other devotees. Not that suna kya? Sadhak gana. Not like that. So that's how, you know, sadhak gan means those who are trying to be pure. You should also worship them, give them all respect, like a pure devotee. You should never, of course, you know, people who are practicing steady devotional service for many, many years, you can safely tell by their actions that he is actually looks like a pure devotee. Of course, only Krishna knows how pure a person is. Nobody else can tell. So, but for us, at our level, we can see the external actions. If a devotee is consistently, you know, serving with determination, with seriousness, sincerity over long period of time, we can safely say that he is a very advanced soul or maybe a pure devotee. And the 9 symptoms of a Bhava Bhakta, we all know. Shanti, Avyata, Kalatvam, Virakti, Mana, Shunyata, Ashavandha, Smutkantha, Namagana, Correct? NOD mein hai na? There are 9 qualities of Bhava Bhakta. Bhava Bhakta means भाव खाते हैं वो नहीं, जो भाव स्तर पे हैं. How to understand? मतलब because there are two problems with bhav bhaktas. They don't show their ecstasies. जिनके पास होंगे वो दिखाएंगे नहीं, तो कैसे पता चलेगा ये शुद्ध भक्त हैं कि नहीं? There are some things which are, you know, quantifiable. विश्वेद कंप रोमांच अश्रु गदगद वैवर्ण्य उन्माद विषाद गर्व हर्ष धैर्य, तो कोई भी दिखा सकता है. You know, a stage also, actor can also cry. Somebody was saying that, you know, the actors are so expert, you know, in crying. वो डायरेक्टर बोलेगा ये डायलॉग के पास एक आंसू गिरना चाहिए, उसके बाद दूसरा आंसू गिरना चाहिए लाइन बोलने के बाद, and they actually can do that. They have learned the art of crying. मतलब आ जाता है उनके आंसू बोलेंगे तो. So all these things can be imitated. तो कैसे पता चलेगा प्योर डिवोटी है कि नहीं है? There are 9 things which you can never imitate for long periods of time. Shanti means perseverance, tolerating all the ups and downs with grateful consciousness. Avyartha kalatvam, not wasting a single moment. Virakti, completely detached. Man shunyata, no desire for any name, fame, prestige. Shanti, avyarta kalatvam, virakti, man shunyata, asha bandha. Always hopeful that Krishna will surely be merciful. हम होंगे कामयाब. That is a faith a devotee should have. Always be optimistic. If you are not an optimist, you are an atheist. Ashaband, samutkantha, always eager to serve. Nama gane sadaruchi, eager to chant the names of the Lord. Asaktis tad guna akhyane, pritis tad vasati phale. Eager to go to the dham, eager to chant, eager to hear the pastimes of the Lord. Iti adayo anubhavasu jat bhavankurejan. If you see anyone showing these 9 qualities, you can safely tell that this is a bhava bhakta. He is at the stage of bhava. He may show ecstatic symptoms or he may not show. But seeing the externals, we can safely tell, ye devotee mein pure devotee hai. Okay, so continues. It is improper to take shelter of one. Yes.
Some devotees, which are very exalted, they show opposite quality to hide from the common people.
Opposite नहीं दिखाते होंगे.
They don't show symptoms of bhaktas. Other way around, they want to create some conditions where they cannot be approachable.
For example,
like I read somewhere that Bhakti Saraswati Maharaj Guru.
Gaur Kishore Das.
He was spreading on, remnants of non-veg food and all. Around his
क्या है वो अभी जब ज्यादा परेशान करते हैं ना लोग प्योर डिवोटी को, he would chant in toilet also. Every moment he is chanting. Just imagine if you are chanting your rounds and प्रभु जी ये सेवा की और ये भी मिलेगा क्या? यहाँ ठीक है बात. एक माला और फिर प्रभु जी ये भी चाहिए, तो आप क्या करेंगे? You will get frustrated and you will go to one place जहाँ पे कोई भी नहीं आएगा. माला तो करने दो यार शांति से, That was the condition of Gaur Kishore Das. He was a great liberated soul and people knew it. So therefore, वो कुछ भी करें, लोगों को मालूम है he is a pure devotee and he is just doing all this to run away. So that, pure devotee, if somebody thinks that, well, I am a pure devotee and even if I don't follow the rules and regulations, chalega. No. Pure devotee never ever breaks any rules and regulations. He'll never do anything wrong against the law, against the dharmic principles. So that should always be there in the mind. If somebody is showing some sinful behavior, that means he's not pure yet. A pure devotee, for example, when it is said that for pure devotee, he doesn't have to follow the rules and regulations, that means he doesn't even think about it. ये भी सोचने की जरूरत है, ये 4 नियम पालन करना, सोचना है क्या, करना है क्या? It is like obvious है इसमें. After 15 years आपको बोलेंगे चाय नहीं पीना है, बोलने की जरूरत है. Anyways, I'll do it. So that's how a pure devotee is. They follow the rules and regulations. For them, it is not a question also, because they are at such higher level. They have another, level, another rules of actions to be, rules of, nature to be followed. That's all. If somebody does something simple, that means वो भी शुद्ध नहीं है. That is for sure. Lord Shuddha may be distributing some remnants of, but he will never eat.
No, he is not eating.
So that's how.
You're hiding. It is difficult.
Yes.
Know who's a pure devotee.
True. Vaishnavara kriya mudra vigyeha na puchai. So therefore, never ever judge. If you think, if we are really confused, ये pure devotee है कि नहीं है, तो हमारा business ही नहीं है, वो pure devotee है कि नहीं, हमको क्या करना है? So we have to just be respectful to everyone. Okay. So Parikshit Maharaj, after hearing this, he may say that unless somebody take shelter of devotee, he cannot become devotee. So he may say, it is improper to take shelter of one deity at the end of life after taking shelter of someone else for whole life, right? जीवन भर मैंने किसी और की पूजा किया है और अंत में विष्णु का पूजा कैसे करेंगे? अच्छा नहीं लगेगा ना? It is not proper. How can it be proper to make a person who has always worshipped some devata develop devotion to the Lord at the end? Is it possible? जीवन भर देवता की पूजा किया और अंत में भगवान की पूजा करने लगेगा? Is it possible? That is the question which has come up in the mind of Parikshit Maharaj. Then Shukdev Goswami, he describes, who would not get attracted to such an excellent process of devotional service? Now, why one should wait till the end of the life to develop devotional service? Everybody will get attracted to the Lord. 12th verse describes beautifully. Jnanam yad apan jnanam yada pratinivritta gunavarvi chakram आत्मा प्रसादुदयत्र गुणेश्वर संगः कैवल्य सम्मत पथ भक्ति योगः परिकथा सुरतिं न कुर्यात्.
Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment, and being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted?
Jnanam yad. So when this jnana, which create apratinivritta, so this jnana creates indifference. Gunormi chakram, indifference to the multitude of material gunas. So this jnana creates complete indifference, virakti from the modes. And this jnana, atma prasada, this jnana is followed by satisfaction. Atma prasada uta yatra guneshu asangaha. So this jnana creates complete detachment from the modes. Guneshu asangaha. And this path is approved by Kaivalya Sammat Pathaha. This is the path approved for attaining the Lord. And this path ultimately leads to Bhakti Yoga. Any path, even this Jnana, which creates detachment, right? That is the purpose of Jnana. Jnana creates detachment. But what is the purpose of detachment? Ultimately, one should get attached to Bhakti. Nehayat karma dharmaya na virangaya kalpate na tirthapada sevaya jivan napi mritopi sa. Devotee is telling, all our karma should lead to dharma. Nehayat karma. But if our karma doesn't lead to dharma, our dharma doesn't lead to vairagya, and our vairagya doesn't lead to devotion. Jivan napi mritopi sa. There's no use of living. So therefore, ultimately, all the jnana should ultimately lead to Bhakti Yoga. So therefore, ko nirvrito, who is that person who has developed attraction for the topics of the Lord? So who is that person who is detached from the world, who is free from the modes, who will not develop attraction for the Lord? Ko nirvrito hari katha surati. Isko rati nahi aayega. So that's how, he's saying anybody will get attracted. So why to wait till the end of the life? Now start rendering devotional service from now onwards. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, one should not worry that one cannot attain association of devotees, since that mercy is spontaneous, right? By the mercy of the Lord, Sanak and others attained bhakti. By the mercy of devotees such as Shukdeva, persons such as Shukdeva attained bhakti through kirtan. So therefore, that is the power of devotional service. Anybody gets attracted to devotional service. Even great jnanis and liberated souls like Shukdeva. He got attracted, and that's how he began the 8th chapter, as the first chapter. So, is there any example for a person who got attracted? What to speak of anybody else? I am that example. I was attracted to Nirguna Parinishthito Vinaygunya Yuttama Shloka Leelaya Grihita Cheta Rajarshe Akhyanam Yadadhitavan. That's how he says in the 8th verse. That's how he's saying. Anybody will get attracted. So Prabhupada writes, he quotes 10.9, characteristics of pure devotees are wonderful. What is the 10.9? 10.9. Machitta Madgata Prana. Complete functional activities of pure devotees are always engaged in service of the Lord, and thus the pure devotee exchange feelings of ecstasy. Parasparanukathanam pavanam bhagavatesha mitharati mithatushti nivriti mithatmanaha. That is the Bhagavatam verse, same thing. Machitta Madgata Prana, same thing comes in Bhagavatam also, Parasparanukathanam. परस्परानुकथन में मैं बोली परस्परानुकथनम पावनम भगवती यशः. Eleven 3:30. Mitharati, mithatushti, nivriti, mitha atmanaha. That's the process of devotional service. It attracts devotees and they develop deep, loving relationship amongst each other. This transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional service. That is very important thing and interesting thing about Bhakti. We need not wait till prema and bhava to develop to experience happiness. We can experience the happiness of devotional service right at the stage of sadhana bhakti. That is how we are actually experiencing. That's why we are still there. After so many years of intense tapasya, struggling in the path of devotional service, still we are still going on because kuch to hai na. Some bliss we are experiencing somewhere, right? That's why we are still continuing, happily continuing. That's what Prabhupada writes. That is experienced even in sadhana avastha. And in the mature stage, the developed transcendental feeling culminates in realization of particular relationship. That's how.
So is it possible that somebody does the devotional service because of compulsion? There is no other choice. Like he may not be experiencing bliss, but he knows that there is no other way.
That is sadhana bhakti actually. मतलब see, something he must experience for sure. मतलब भक्ति कोई भी करेगा तो थोड़ा तो उसमें आनंद आएगा ही उसको. नहीं ठीक है, नहीं वही बहुत जरूरी है. That is the most important thing. Because that is actually sadhana bhakti, right? हमको किसको ऐसा टेस्ट है एकदम 17वां माला करने के लिए एकदम एक्सटेसी आ रहा है. Still we do it, right? फिर भी हम लोग 64 भी कर रहे हैं कभी कभी. चलो 64 करते हैं. टेस्ट तो आ नहीं रहा है, बट we have heard नहीं आएगा. So that keeps a sadhaka going. Riti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana vida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam riti sadhyata. That is sadhana bhakti, right? We have no taste, but still we do it because it is mentioned in the scriptures and it is told by acharyas. गुरु ने बोला है और शास्त्रों में है, इसलिए कर रहे हैं. जैसा भी कर रहे हैं लेकिन कर रहे हैं. मर मर के घिस घिस के कर रहे हैं, लेकिन still I will do it. I will not give it up. That is a devotee. नहीं भी टेस्ट है कोई बात. अरे रुचि निष्ठा तक भी टेस्ट नहीं है बाबा. At the stage of निष्ठा also there is no taste. टेस्ट कब आता है? वो रुचि के स्तर पे टेस्ट आता है actual. Till the stage of निष्ठा, even a person who is doing निष्ठित भजन. अनिष्ठित भजन मतलब 6 प्रॉब्लम्स ना. उत्साहमयी, घनतरला, विषय संगार, नियमाक्षमा, और व्यूढ़ विकल्प और तरंग रंगिनी. There are 6 things, right? तो माधुर्य कादम्बिनी में चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर writes. And then लय, विक्षेप, अप्रतिपत्ति, कषाय, and all. ये सब है, सुना है ना? लय मतलब जो बहुत बार होता है कथा में, जपा में. लय. लय. विक्षेप मतलब नो अट्रैक्शन. तो ऐसा सब है. बट ये सब खत्म हो जाने के बाद भी ये सब अनर्थ निवृत्ति के स्तर पे ये सब होता है. आफ्टर एवरीथिंग इज ऑलमोस्ट, प्रायः खत्म हो गए, तब जाके हम आते हैं किस पे? निष्ठा. अभी भी टेस्ट नहीं आया है,
कुछ ही नहीं है.
कुछ ही नहीं है अभी भी. स्टिल अ निष्ठित भक्त डज एवरीथिंग, पक्का, कंसिस्टेंट. Why he is doing? Intellectually he is convinced. And of course, in between he gets some dosage of bhakti, some anand कभी कभी मिल जाता है भगवान की कृपा से. भगवान दे देते हैं. Yes. Krishna keeps giving, थोड़ा तो देते रहते हैं, नहीं तो ड्राई हो जाएगा तो मजा नहीं. Okay, so Prabhupada writes in the purport. Bhakti yoga is called as kaivalya. Generally, kaivalya means what? Impersonal liberation, right? But Bhakti yoga, Prabhupada writes, is called kaivalya. Kaivalya means the path of liberation. And after a few lines, Prabhupada writes, this kaivalya pantha begins with shravana, hearing. And then after a few lines, Prabhupada elaborates on this. Pravati nivritta gunoni. This, for a devotee, all mundane activities, social and political, become unattractive. And in the mature stage, such a devotee becomes uninterested even in his own body. What to speak of bodily relatives? Tamal Krishna Maharaj writes in his diary of Prabhupada's last days. So there Prabhupada is like in June, July, October, November, all these, August, September, all these months, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was personal servant of Prabhupada. He left all his engagements and was there in Vrindavan with him. And Prabhupada was not eating anything, not drinking anything. He was just ready to leave the body. And everybody was, trying to encourage and tell Prabhupada, please stay. If you go, how we will survive? We are not yet advanced. And then Brahmanand Prabhu is there, and so many other disciples are there. And then Brahmanand Prabhu is thinking, let me give some solace to Prabhupada. He says, Prabhupada, you don't worry. This institution will go on. We'll follow your instructions. So Prabhupada said, so because Brahmanand has given me all assurance, now I can leave. So Brahmanand was saying, why did I say that? So that's how everybody was thinking, how to encourage and request Prabhupada. Then Kirtanand Maharaj ko sab log bolte hain, you are the first person, you know Prabhupada very well and Prabhupada loves you, so you go and tell. So he goes and tells Prabhupada, we are meeting today. For what? Do you want me to live more? I don't want to live. I have already done everything. I want to go. So then you're saying, no, Prabhupada, if you go, how we will continue? We are not yet mature. So Prabhupada said, so well, how long do you want me to survive, to stay on? Prabhupada said, yes, Prabhupada, please stay. Then Prabhupada, he closed his eyes, and after a long time, he just yawned and said, all right. And then, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was saying, this was the, most casual remark about living. ठीक है, अभी आप लोग बोल रहे हो तो रह जाते हैं. So that is a pure devotee. He doesn't care to live or die. As Prabhupada tells this, you are a king, you should live. Rajputra, Jiva. You keep living. And you are a devotee, better you live or die. Doesn't make any difference. You are a brahmachari, better you die. You are a hunter, better you neither live nor die. That's how pure devotee, whether he lives or dies, he is always with Krishna. So devotee is not interested in his own body. In such a state of affairs, one is not agitated by the waves of material forms. This state of affairs is described as pratinivritta gunormi, and it is possible by Atma Prasada. For a devotee, all mundane activities become unattractive. That is a prime, baseline thing. If some devotees are still attracted, if they are still attracted to cricket and Bollywood and politics, that means there is a long way to go. So all these things should become completely unattractive. मतलब कुछ रुचि ही नहीं है, खाली मेरे को कुछ तो पता करना है, इसलिए ठीक है, and most of the time this is a very disastrous thing. Even in the devotee community, devotees, they become so interested in getting knowledge of the world. क्या चल रहा है पॉलिटिक्स में, नहीं आपको क्या प्रभु जी, आप तो मंदिर में बैठे हैं, आपको क्या जरूरत है, हम तो काम करते हैं, हम तो दुनिया में रहते हैं, दुनियादारी हमको समझना पड़ता है. So we need to know about all this. Even if we want to know about all this, 5 मिनट में दुनिया भर का इंफॉर्मेशन सब मिल जाता है. After that, whatever we do is just because of our desire to, just spend time in all these things, because there is subtle attraction which is still there. So that is how, because that is the greatest problem in society. There is no dearth of knowledge, sabke paas knowledge, but application is missing. Devotees are spending lots of time on social media.
Yes.
And spending lots of time getting to know about politics, Bollywood में क्या problem चल रहा है, and nationalism. All these things are, not our job. Our society began with this. Prabhupada went to Saraswati Thakur and what did he say? Cannot wait for all these things. हमको क्या जरूरत है? Bhakti is not dependent on all these things. That doesn't mean we are, just neglecting and putting them everything down. But अपना job नहीं है वो. We should keep our full energy for things of devotional service. That's how it is.
But many times what we see Guruji on many ISKCON devotees, they are going with politicians and celebrities and things like that. So that
For the sake of preaching, it is okay. But if any reason, any motive other than that, it will be disastrous. And one time, one of our devotees asked Radhanath Maharaj directly, Maharaj, now there are some devotees who are so much interested in nationalism and all these things. So how to understand this? And very senior devotees are involved. How to understand this? So, Maharaj said that, see, after spending many years in Krishna consciousness, we should understand that everybody has some conditionings, some psychophysical nature which they have brought because of their previous conditions, past lives. And if a devotee is following the basic principles of Bhakti, and he knows that I want a little bit of this, so that is his decision to enter into that. One thing he should do is, he should never ever tell other devotees also to do this. The problem is, I am doing it, all of you should also do it. Then it becomes a problem. If we have certain type of nature, मैंने बचपन से वही देखा है और भक्ति में आ गया हूँ, तो फिर भी मुझे वो करने की इच्छा है, ठीक है, आपकी इच्छा है, आपका डेवलपमेंट वैसा हुआ है, okay, do it, but don't inspire others to do it. So that is the understanding. Otherwise, there is no end to all these things. Okay, so now, after hearing this, the sages are thinking that, well, it seems that Suta Goswami has condensed the entire Bhagavatam. खत्म होने वाला लगता है Bhagavatam class. So from 13th verse onwards, they again inspire, अरे बोलते नहीं है भाई, रुकिए मत, सब कुछ खत्म हो गया ना, सब बोल दिया अभी. परीक्षित महाराज asked few questions, duty of a person who is about to die, और क्या सुने, क्या स्मरण करें, और सब कुछ खत्म. So all the sages, they are thinking, "अरे, इतनी जल्दी कैसे करनी है?" So from 13th verse onwards, they are inspiring, 13 to 25. 12 verse they inspire. Suta Goswami, भाई बोलते रहिए आप, रुकिए मत. So Shukdev Goswami established the superiority of Bhakti Yoga over Ashtanga Yoga and demigod worship in 2.5 chapters. Now, Shaunak Rishi is inspiring him to speak more. Shaunaka Uvacha Iti Abhivyaritam Raja Ityabhya Shamya Manya Bhuyo
So Sonaka said, the son of the Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, was highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Parikshit Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that?
Okay, all he had said. So
He
Shaunak
had
is
said,
saying, Iti Abhivyaritam Raja. So after all this was spoken by Shukdev Goswami, so the king, he must have asked something more. कुछ तो बोले होंगे अभी, ये इतनी जल्दी कैसे खत्म हो जाएगा भागवतम, ना? So what did Parikshit inquire from Vaibhav? Vaibhav means Shukdev Goswami. So please tell us more. Please don't stop. ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता कि खत्म हो गया होगा. That is the question only in the minds of, आज का कथा में अभी कब तक बोलेंगे, अभी बोलते ही जा रहे हैं, अभी हो गया कि नहीं क्वेश्चन, and at the end of the class, any questions, और जो क्वेश्चन पूछा और बाकियों का मूड नहीं है सुनने, तो ऐसा देखते हैं मतलब कि भस्म ही करने वाले हैं. टॉयलेट टाइम ओवर हो गया है, तो क्यों पूछ रहे हैं क्वेश्चन? जो भी पूछने वाले पूछ लो. So all these sages, they are really eager. Prabhupada writes in the purport, pure devotee of the Lord automatically develops all good qualities, and some of them are prominent: kind, truthful. So all these 26 qualities of a devotee, Prabhupada is writing here. The presentation of Srimad Bhagvatam by his recitation. So all these qualities, one of the qualities is being poetic. And this presentation of Bhagavatam by his recitation is the highest poetic contribution. Then they continue. Having understood that hearing and chanting are necessary, what else did Parikshit ask? So, all these sages, they are thinking that he would have asked something about Krishna also for sure. ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है कि अभी तक कृष्ण के बारे में नहीं पूछे परीक्षित महाराज? कृष्णा के डिवोटियां कृष्ण के बारे में नहीं पूछे, सब मतलब कुछ तो मिसिंग है. He must have asked something. So एतत् शुश्रूषतां विद्वन् आशितुम् तथा हरि कथोदरका तथा
Please continue to explain such topics to us, because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees.
एतत् शुश्रूषताम, we are all eager to hear. Please tell more. Suta, oh Suta, please tell. Arhasi bhashitum, please continue to explain such topics. Because katha hari kathodarkaha, because topics which result in the discussion of Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Devotees, if they come together and they don't discuss Hari Katha, how is this possible? So far, direct Krishna Katha has not happened yet. So therefore, all these sages are thinking, kuch to Krishna Katha hua hoga. Direct Krishna Katha, please tell us that. The same thing they tell in the 18th chapter also, first canto. Tanno bhavan vai bhagavat pradhano mahattam ekanta parayanasya harerudaram charitam vishuddham shushrushyatam no vitam. They are telling there also. You are great devotee. We are eager. And the topic is Krishna Katha. So please speak. because the topics are very, very sweet. Krishna Leela Amritasar Tara Shata Shatadhar Dasha Dikya Vahaya Hoite Sri Chaitanya Leela Hoye Sarovar Akshay Mano Hamsa Chara Hatahate. But I'll do some is telling. Krishna Leela is like Amrit. Hundreds of the tributaries of this, nectarine ocean are flowing in all the 10 directions. Similarly, Sai Chaitanya Leela Hoye Sarovar Akshay. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, they are inexhaustible reservoir of nectar. Mano Hamsa Charaha. Please become like a swan. Make your mind like a swan and please relish this beautiful nectar of Harikatha. So that's how this katha is very attractive. Please tell us more. So Chakravarti Thakur says that one cannot say the other topics, even about creation and subcreation, Manvantar and the kings are unrelated. Even those topics about the creation and subcreation should be heard because they end with discussion of Krishna. So pure devotee or any sincere devotee is interested in hearing all the topics of Bhagavatam, not that only 10 canto. No. For a devotee, every canto of Bhagavatam is equally attractive. Even 5th canto, even 2nd canto and 3rd canto, all these creation topics which will come. इसमें बहुत टेक्निकल चीजें हैं, हमको लगे कब खत्म हो रहा है because many times it will go कि भाई क्या चल रहा है कुछ समझ ही नहीं रहा है. Yeah, because the topics are little complex, but a devotee is always eager to hear that because everything is related to Krishna. So Prabhupada writes that any katha which is related to Krishna is good. As we have already quoted above from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that even mundane things, if devoted in service of Krishna, are transcendental. That is called as Yukta Vairagya. Prabhupada has quoted that in the last verse purport. Krishna, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha, last few lines of the 12th verse purport. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha, Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. So Prabhupada is telling that here. The epics or stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are specifically recommended for less intelligent class, are also accepted as Vedic literature. And what is the 8th offense against the holy name? Blaspheme the Vedic literatures. Fourth vote. I'm sorry. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures in persons of the Vedic version. So if we think about this, why this is quoted there in 10 offenses? Vedic literatures, why we will blaspheme Vedic literatures? We will never do that, right? But still it is mentioned. Why? Because we will never blaspheme or insult or look down upon Bhakti literatures. They are always supreme for us. But when it comes to lower scriptures, which describe dharma, artha, kama, moksha, we have a tendency to criticize and put down. That should also not be done, because they have a purpose. They are meant for certain type of people. So therefore, all the scriptures ultimately bring one to Krishna. That is how the scriptures are designed. There is no scripture which is redundant and which is क्यों लिख दिया मालूम नहीं. It has a purpose. Ultimately, all the Devata worshippers, they have to come to Krishna worship only. अभी गणपति आरती के एंड में क्या गाते? कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा त्यात्मनावानुसित स्वभावा करोति यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै. So ultimately, everything has to come to Krishna. So therefore, a devotee should never ever think that all these lower scriptures, all these Vedic scriptures, they are lower scriptures. हम तो भागवतम पढ़ रहे हैं. That is the Amalam Puranam. That is also an offense. Every scripture has a purpose.
For example, Jyotish वगैरह कैसे आता है?
Of course,
Jyotish Ayurveda is
it's mentioned in Vedas. Less intelligent do not accept Mahabharata as part of the Vedas, but great sages accept it as fifth division. Bhagavad Gita is also part of Mahabharata and it is full of Lord's instructions. Some less intelligent men say that Bhagavad Gita is not meant for householders. But such foolish men forget that Bhagavad Gita was explained to Arjuna Agrahastha. So Bhagavad Gita, although containing the highest philosophy of Vedic wisdom, is for the beginners in transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is for graduates and postgraduates. That's where Prabhupada writes. Bhagavad Gita is graduate study, Bhagavatam is postgraduate study. So, then Prabhupada describes the glories of Bhagavatam for more time in this. So we'll go to the next verse. Now, after telling that, well, they must have discussed Krishna Katha, please tell us. And we have heard about Parikshit also. Who is Parikshit? We know. Savai Bhagavato Raja. Pandavayo Maharatha. Balakrirna Kai.
Raja.
Krishna Kridam Yadade.
Krishna Kridam Yadade.
Maharaja Parikshit, the grandson of the Pandavas, was from his very childhood a great devotee of the Lord. Even while playing with dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity.
So that's how Parikshit was. Savai Bhagavato Raja. He was a great devotee. Pandavayo Maharatha. He was grandson of Pandavas. He was Maharathi, great fighter. And what he would do? Bala Kridanakai Kridan. While playing, what he would do, how he will play? He would play with dolls of Krishna. Krishna Kridam Yadade. That was the story of Parikshit Maharaj. Same thing is described about Uddhav also. Yah Panchahayano Matra. When he was just 5 years old, his mother would call him and he would not come. He would be busy playing with the dolls of Krishna. Pratar Ashaya Yachitaha. Mother would call him for breakfast, he would not come. It was about Uddhav. So Prabhupada writes about this Shruchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Vijayate. And then Prabhupada tells about himself. Our father encouraged us in all respects to observe all functions such as Rath Yatra, Dola Yatra, and used to spend money liberally for distributing prasad. Prabhupada would tell, I have learned everything about Krishna consciousness from my father, except one thing. What is that? Book distribution and printing books. That I have learned from my guru. Apart from that, everything Prabhupada says I have learned from my father. Our spiritual master, who also took birth in a Vaishnava family, got all inspiration from his great Vaishnava father. That is the way of all lucky Vaishnava families. And then the celebrated Mirabai was a staunch devotee of Krishna. What was that also? So then Prabhupada writes about Parikshit that he was not a sadhana siddha. It was not that he became a pure devotee after hearing Bhagavatam. He was already a pure devotee. He's a nitya siddha. Prabhupada writes about nitya siddha and sadhana siddha.
Why did he quote made sentence of Mirabai here? What suddenly this flow is coming?
She was also born in a great Vaishnava family.
Right.
Yeah. That's how she also got this devotional sentiments. So that's what I can think of. I don't know the life of Mirabai exactly, but that is the flow which is coming. So Prabhupada must have quoted because of this only. Anybody else? So Prabhupada writes, the life history of many such devotees is almost the same because there is always symmetry between the early lives of all great devotees. According to Jiva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj must have heard about the childhood pastimes of Krishna. Of course, हम लोग इतना सुन लिए हैं तो परीक्षित कितना सुना होगा? Born in the devotee, born in Krishna's family. Vishwanath Chakravarti also confirms the viewpoint of Jiva Goswami. So, accepting either of them, Maharaj Parikshit was inclined to Krishna, naturally inclined to Krishna from his very childhood. That's why his name was Parikshit. He was always searching. He might have imitated either of the above mentioned activities, and all of them establishes great devotion from his childhood, a symptom of Mahabhagavata. Savai Mahabhagavata Raja. That word comes earlier also, Mahabhagavata. Such Mahabhagavatas are called as Nitya Siddha. But there are others also who may not be liberated from birth, but who develop a tendency for devotional service by association. They are called as Sadhana Siddha. Then Prabhupada writes the same thing. There is no difference between the two. Parshad Ganar, Sadhaka Ganar, there is no difference in the ultimate issue. Everyone can become Sadhana Siddha simply by association with pure devotees. Okay, then he continues. Vaiyashakischa Bhagavan.
Vaiyashakischa Bhagavan.
Vasudeva Parayanaha.
Vasudeva Parayanaha.
Vaya Bhudaraha.
Anagaya Bhudaraha.
Agame.
Sri Sama Ganagame.
Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasdeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees.
So they are saying we know the glories of Parikshit also, we know the glories of Shukadeva Goswami also. Vaiyashakisha Bhagavan, he is a Bhagavan, full of transcendental knowledge. And he is Vasudeva Parayan, he is a great devotee also. Urugaya Gunodaraha. Therefore, that great sage was Shukdev is also glorified. And the Supreme Lord, Urugaya Gunodara, his qualities are described by great philosophers. So therefore, in the company of devotees, the discussions of Krishna must have happened. So please tell us. So Prabhupada tells about this Satam. Satam means pure devotees who have no desires other than to serve the Lord. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido. That is how Satam are. So then Prabhupada writes that, well, superficially Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit, they may look opposite. Shukadeva Goswami is a renounced person. Parikshit is a householder. So they don't look to be the same. Basically, Prabhupada writes they are both pure, unalloyed devotees. Because, when such devotees assemble together, there can be no other topics save the topics of Lord. Just like when two businessmen meet, they will not discuss our chanting kiya ki nahi. When two drunkards meet, वो बोलेंगे नहीं आज कौन सा वर्ष था भागवतम में, they discuss only about drinking. जैसे अगर रामानंद राय चैतन्य महाप्रभु देव मीटिंग क्या बोल रहे हैं, आमी एक बातुल तुम्हें द्वितीय बातुल अतएव अमाय तुम्हाय होय समातुल. अपना वेवलेंथ मैच क्यों कर रहा है, मैं भी पागल हूँ तुम भी पागल हो, इसलिए अपना फ्रीक्वेंसी मैच हो रहा है. That's how these two are mad in Krishna Katha. So therefore, when they meet together, क्या बोलेंगे कृष्ण कथा ही डिस्कस हुआ होगा ना. Please tell us about that also. And then the very classic famous verse comes. Ayur harati vaipumsam udyam mastancha yannaso tasyarte yashana unito uttama shlokavartaya.
Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all good personality of Godhead.
So therefore they are saying, any other activity other than Harikatha steals away the lifetime. Ayur harti, life goes by. Udyam astam, rising and setting of the sun. Tasya rite, apart from a devotee, everyone's life is getting diminished. Why? How? Because they are coming closer to eternal life. That is how a devotee doesn't even waste his time. Avyartha kalatvam. Because he understands that my life is very precious. And I have to use every moment very, very effectively and efficiently. So that's how a devotee is, efficient and effective in utilizing time. Because all the other people, they don't have to chant their rounds, don't have to hear Bhagavatam, don't have to associate with devotees, don't have to conduct, Sunday feast class, Sunday feast prasadam serving distribution. कुछ नहीं करना है, हमको सब करना है. उसके साथ बाकी हमारा we have to take care of the worldly responsibilities also. We cannot afford to waste time. So that's how we have to be really careful. Otherwise, Vaibhav was saying that time is so wonderful. समय सबको चुपचाप बूढ़ा बना देता है. पता भी नहीं चलता है यार, अभी तो स्कूल में थे, अभी कॉलेज गए थे, अभी तो बूढ़े भी हो गए थे. How time is. मैं बोल रहा हूँ आप लोगों को एक्सपीरियंस होगा ऐसा. मतलब हम अभी तो स्कूल में थे, अभी तो कॉलेज गए थे, अभी निकल गया टाइम, 10 साल निकल गए अपना टाइम. तो आजकल वो टी शर्ट पे रहता ना, अपना टाइम आएगा. अपना टाइम आता ही नहीं है कभी. People say. Shukdev Goswami describes in the 10th canto, the description of the rainians of summer season. उसमें वो Prabhupada writes a book ना, Light of Bhagavad. That is a chapter. That is a book which describes these chapters of autumn and rainy season. नयवा विद्वंशीयमानं जलं गाद जले चराः यथा योरन्वहं शय्यं नरा मूढ़ा कुटुम्बिनः. There he is describing just like in the rainy season, small ditches, they get filled with water and the fishes start staying there, living there. They flow from the rivers and they start staying there. And then as the river starts drying up with the coming of the summer season, this fish doesn't even realize. Chalam gad jale chara, pani kam ho raha hai, they don't even realize. And they die there. Similarly, yatha ayu anvaham shayyam. Similarly, the life gets destroyed slowly, gradually. But foolish people, nara moodha kutumbinah, because they are just grihamedhi, they don't realize how time is passing by. They waste their time. Therefore, we have to be really careful. What we are aspiring for is a very, very rare thing in the world. Sudushkaram karam kritva lokapalai rapi prabho. Narad Muni is telling to Tanpad, oh my dear king, you know what your son has done? He has done the most difficult job in the entire creation. Kya kiye? He has pleased the Lord. And what are we trying to do? वही कर रहे हैं ना, वही प्रयास कर रहे हैं भगवान को प्रसन्न करने का. Not easy. So that for that we have to really struggle, really give our best. Because if we get distracted, then we'll become unfortunate. So Prabhupada writes another interesting thing in the purport. This verse indirectly confirms the greater importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Lord. Time and tide wait for no man. Human life is simply awarded to a living entity so that he can realize his spiritual identity. And then after a few lines, Prabhupada writes, as a highly potent drug injected intravenously acts at once on the whole body, the transcendental topics of the Lord, injected through the ear of the pure devotee of the Lord, can act very efficiently. Pravishta karna randrena swanam bhavasaroruham dunoti shamalam krishna salilasya yathasharat. Just like the autumnal rains cleanses everything, similarly, when Krishna Katha enters the heart, cleanses the heart. That's another very important line. Oral realization of the transcendental messages implies total realization. Just as fructification of one part of the tree implies fructification of all other parts also. That's how we have to understand. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes another very wonderful example, description.
What do you mean by oral realization?
Oral realization means when we begin by hearing. When we hear and we start realizing, that's the beginning. That's the beginning of fructification. So when one part of the one fruit and one part of the tree starts getting fructified, that means all others are also waiting. Just a matter of time. It has started getting fructified. So when we start hearing, then it's just a due course of time. अन्ये तु एवम् अजानन्तः श्रुत्वा नेभ्य उपासते तेपि चाति तरन्त्येव मृत्युं श्रुति परायण. This is Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter. Krishna is saying, he describes so many other paths and then he says, there are other people who attain perfection just by hearing process. They are Shruti Parayan. Shrutva nebhya upasate, they worship me by hearing. Te api cha ati taranti. They also cross this ocean of material existence because they are Shruti Parayan. So that is how oral realization works. Roti Thakur writes, money given in charity to a suitable person is guaranteed bank balance in the next life. Such charity is recommended to be given to a Brahmana. If the charity is given to a non-Brahmana, the money is returned in the next life in the same proportion. That is the first thing. Non-Brahmana ko diya to same, jitna diya utna milega. If the charity is given to half-educated Brahmana, the money is returned double. If the money is given in charity to a learned and fully qualified Brahmana, money is returned hundreds and thousands of times. If the money is given to a Veda Paraga, one who has factually realized the path of Vedas, it is multiplied by unlimited times. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport. इसमें भी लिखे हैं ना Prabhupada write. Prabhupada also writes in the purport. He quotes that. So therefore Prabhupada writes, there is a guarantee of money being returned if given in charity, regardless of the proportion. Similarly, a moment passed in association of a pure devotee is a perfect guarantee for eternal life. So ordinary money gets returned in such, returns. What to speak of if somebody is, investing in spiritual benefits. So then somebody may ask, well, isn't a man meant to live a long life, making merry? Why we have to struggle so much? So sages, they are strongly speaking all these various verses which we always quote. Taravaha kimna jivanti Hastra na shachantyuta na khalanti na mehanti indra me patavo pare.
Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of blacksmith not breathe all around us? Do the beast not eat and discharge? Hare Krishna.
So do the trees not live? They live much longer than humans, right? So somebody may say, they live, but they do not breathe. Does the bellows not breathe? They are also breathing, right? They breathe more strongly than humans. But the bellows breathe, but they do not eat. Do the animals not eat and meat? They can eat more than humans. So what is the use of utilizing life like animals? That is what Chakravarti Thakur gives this. Then Prabhupada writes how modern man thinks only of eating, sleeping, mating and defending. And Bhagavatam says, Tapo Divyam. Life is meant for tapasya. The trees may live for hundreds and thousands of years. What's the use? And Prabhupada says there are big personalities who didn't live long. Shankaracharya lived only for how many years? 32 years. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived for 48 years. So does it mean that prolonged lives of above mentioned trees are more important than Shankara or Chaitanya? That is writing the purpose. So therefore prolonged life without spiritual values is not very important. Therefore Bhagavatam is interested in making life, utilizing life for right purpose. Specific, last few lines Prabhupada is writing, the specific utterance of Srimad Bhagavatam in regard to other animals means that persons who are simply engaged in planning a better type of animal life, consisting of eating, breathing, mating, are also animals in the shape of human beings. That's how we have to utilize life for developing self-realization. So someone may say that, well, in today's world, all these big people, film stars, cricket stars, they are also glorified, right? So what about them? They are also doing all these things. You know, आप लोग बोल रहे हैं, अरे, what is the use of living and enjoying? See all these big people, what are they doing? So Shukdev Goswami is strongly retaliating. Shwa vidvara hoshtra kharaihi
Swahara
purusha pashu
Purusha
nayatra karna pathopeta
Vayat Karna
jatu nama gadagrajaha.
Sadhunama Gata Krjaha.
Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils.
So only materialistic man glorifies those who are expert in enjoying materialistic pleasures. Sure, these are celebrated animals. भागवतम में बहुत गुणगान किया जाता है. चार जो हैं, श्व विडवराह उष्ट्र खरैः संस्तुतः. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, they praise those men who are similar. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. Oh, बताया मैं आपको. उष्ट्रस्य विवाहेषु गर्दभस्य गायनम परस्परम प्रशंसन्ति अहो रूपम अहो ध्वनि. एक बार गधे की शादी नहीं, ऊंट की शादी हो रही है. उष्ट्रस्य विवाहेषु, and he invited donkey. So donkey goes and he starts glorifying camel. Wow, how beautiful you are looking. गधे की आवाज में. गर्दभस्य गायनम. So donkey is saying how you are so beautiful, and camel says you are singing so beautiful. Aho rupam, aho dhvani. आपका रूप कितना अच्छा लग रहा है, और वो बोल रहे हैं आप कितना अच्छा गा रहे हैं. That's how people who are like dogs, hogs, camel, and asses, they praise those men who are similar. उनको कुछ पड़ी नहीं है. They are just interested in enjoying. न यत्र कर्ण पथोपेतो. To their karna patha, they never hear the glories of Gadagrajaha. Gadagraja is Krishna. Krishna had a younger brother, Gada. Gada Agrajaha. So these people, they never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. So Chakravarti Thakur writes a very wonderful purport also. So he says, their their animalistic life is to be condemned. They are glorified profusely by dogs, pigs, camels, and donkeys. He, as one person, accepts the quality of four, whereas we are incapable of taking up another animal's qualities. मतलब ये चार लोग बोल रहे हैं कि ये जो है ना, these people, they take all our qualities. हमारे तो एक ही क्वालिटी है, इसमें चारों हैं. So he, being a human, can take up so many qualities of animals, and we, being animals, cannot take even one quality of another animal. So that is how humans are. Overstepping his scripture, he accepts our qualities with passion. However, we are fixed in our qualities. We never transgress our rules and regulations. Donkey will never become like pig. But this human being, materialistic person, he has all the four qualities. So combined है इसमें. And then he says, he is aware of hell into which he will be born by following our qualities, whereas we are dull-witted and cannot understand anything of the future. In this way, animals praise him in four ways. That's how Chakravarti Thakur writes. And then Prabhupada to ऐसा full royal justice देते हैं चारों को. And modern universities, they prepare one to acquire a doggish mentality. What is a doggish mentality? Dog moves from one door to another, searching for food. Shutparito yathadinam sarameyam griham griham charan vindhanti yatdinam dandam modanam eva. Bhagavatam says. A dog, street dog, not a pet dog. हिंदी में बोलेंगे तो और अच्छा लगता है. So, Shutparito, sometimes he is affected by hunger or thirst. Shutparito yatha dinam vichara. Sarameya, Sarameya means dog. Griham Griham, sometimes he goes to one house, he is beaten. Sometimes he is given food. Dandam Odanam Yova. Yatha Kamashayo Jiva Bhute Shuchavacheshvanu. Similarly, a living entity in this world sometimes go to higher planets. He enjoys, sometimes he goes to lower, he suffers. So that is the condition of a living entity of the world. Prabhupada writes, people in this world, after finishing a so-called education, they move like dogs from door to door with applications for some service. And mostly they are driven away, informed of no vacancy. As dogs are negligible animals and serve the master faithfully for bits of bread, a man serves the master faithfully without sufficient rewards. Bhakti Thakur has written this bhajan. Jada vidya jata maya ra vaibhav tomar bhajane badha मोह जन्मिया अनित्य संसारे जीव के कोराए गाधा. सुनने में अच्छा लगता है लेकिन बोलते हैं क्या गधे की तरह काम कर रहा है. जड़ विद्या जत, all the jad vidya of this world, maya or vaibhav, is a great wheel of illusion. तो हमारा भजने बाधा, the more we become educated, the more we think I have to earn more. इतना मैंने पढ़ाई किया, इतना खर्चा किया, तो अभी कमाना पड़ेगा ना. And then as a result, we work hard. That is how dog is. And then what about hog? Hogs are interested in, they have no discrimination in matter of foodstuff. And they eat all sorts of rubbish. A graphic example बोलो क्या Prabhupada का? सुना रहेगा ना आपको? Prabhupada बोलते हैं, there are some pigs who like wet stool because it is juicy. And some like dry, it is crispy. Prabhupada is एकदम graphic. So similarly, people of the world, they are interested in all sorts of happiness. What is happiness? All stool. Some dry stool, some wet stool. That's why how Prabhupada was. No discrimination. And those are pure devotees. When they see people enjoying, they see what type of hellish thing they are doing. Just like all of you must have seen, if there is somebody has cough or sputum and sputum is lying and crow comes and starts eating it. And sometimes he looks here and there as if koi kha jayega aake uska. That's how he's scared. So for that crow, that is a delicacy for him. And for us it is obnoxious. That's how for a pure devotee, sense gratification of this world is obnoxious. It is like a person, and just like Bharat Maharaj, it is described, he left the world and all the responsibilities, just like a person after passing stool doesn't even look at it. He gave up everything. They are. Okay, for very interesting verse. So then Chakravarti Thakur writes some very graphic understanding of why Shukadeva Goswami is giving this example only. Just like after passing stool, nobody even looks at it. He says a person who has urge to respond to the nature's call and he doesn't do it because there are no favorable conditions, he gets disturbed. And after he relieves himself, he feels very happy. And after he looks at the stool, he feels disgusted. So for a pure devotee, if they are given this opportunity to enjoy, for them it is like holding on to the stool if they don't become happy. And after giving up, they become peaceful. And when they look at others enjoying sense gratification, they are disgusted. Can somebody enjoy things of the world? Just like Yamunacharya says, I spit at the thought. Shushtu nishtivanam cha. So that's how people of the world are like interested in doing anything. And then Prabhupada writes about camels. Specific feature of the camel is eats thorns and enjoys the own blood. A person who wants to enjoy family life or worldly life or so-called enjoyment is compared to a camel. Central point of attraction for material life is sex life. The thorns mixed with the fresh blood create a taste for foolish animal. Similarly, the great business magnates, industrialists who work very hard to earn money by different ways, eat thorny results of their own actions mixed with their own blood. And then asses. Asses we all know. Prabhupada writes. Ass is an animal who is celebrated as the greatest fool even among the animals. हिंदी में बोलेंगे तो गधा है ना, बोलने में लगता है मेरे को गधा बोल रहे. Asses work very hard and carries burdens of the maximum weight without making profit for itself. And then Prabhupada writes, ass is so foolish, begs for the sexual intercourse and be kicked by the fair sex. Still he follows the female for pleasure. That's how people of the world are also working so very hard just for sense gratification. Prabhupada writes, we have seen in India, people like all driving thela and diksha. They are carrying heavy burdens. All this human civilization is also doing the same. So then after the whole persons are criticized, पूरे लोगों को गाली देने के बाद अभी उनका मन नहीं भरा है. So now they are, criticizing each and every part of the body. On overall whole body they have glorified and criticized a lot. अभी नहीं अभी और बोलेंगे. So then they are now each and every part of the body they are glorifying or criticizing if it is not used in Krishna service. Bile batoru krama vikramanye na shanvati karna putena rasya jihva satida durikeva suta na chopagaya yurugaya gatha.
One who has not listened to the message about the
one who has not listened to the message about the profound and marvelous acts of the person of the Godhead, and he has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess the hair holes like holes of the snakes.
Now he is giving limb by limb description of a materialistic person. What all people do in this world. Bile batoru krama. The ears, they are like holes where snakes live. If they are not hearing the Supreme Lord's words. Karna pute na shanavati. Sunenge nahi to, their holes are like the snake holes where snakes come. What is a snake? Kala sarpa. Snake of time, snake of death will come and devour that person. And jihva, it is like darduri keva. Frog keeps croaking and invites death. Shrotavyadini rajendra nidam santi sahasrashaha. People have thousands of topics to talk about. Baat karte rahenge kar. No end. Apashyatam atma tattvam griheshu grihamedhinam. So Prabhupada writes, asati means a person, a lady who is a prostitute. A prostitute has no reputation for good womanly qualities. Similarly, the tongue, which is given to the human beings for chanting the Vedic hymns, will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. So Kaviraj Goswami also says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnera madhuravani amritera tarangini yara karna nahi shravane kanakadi chidrasam jani hase shravana tara janma hoila karane. तो वो तो एकदम एक्सट्रीम बोलते हैं, जन्म क्यों लिया तुम? Krishnera madhuravani, if you are not hearing Amritera, it is full of nectar, and Tara Karna Nahi Shravana. And you're not hearing. Your ear holes are like broken conch shell. Bajega bhi nahi. Uta hua shank. Kana kadi chidrasam janiha se shravan. You should know that if you're not hearing the glories of Krishna, your ear holes are like broken conch shell. Tara janam hoila akarane. Why did you take birth? That's how, we have to utilize our tongue in glorifying Krishna. Even if we are not capable of doing it, still we should do it. Some devotees say, अभी कहाँ प्रभु जी हम लोग preaching करने के योग्य हैं? हमको तो कुछ आता ही नहीं है. जब तक पूरा सीसी भागवत नहीं पढ़ेंगे कैसे बोलेंगे? तथापि कीर्तयाम्यंग यथामति यथाश्रुतम कीर्तिम हरेर स्वाम सत्कर्तुम गिरम अन्य अभिधा असति. Maitreya Muni is telling to Vidura, although my words are like, I am like small bird. Just like the birds fly as per their capacity, I will also describe the glories of the Lord as per my capacity, as यथामति यथाश्रुतम. जैसा सुना है और जितनी मेरी बुद्धि है उतना मैं बोलूंगा, because if I will not do it, my tongue will become unchaste. So that's why it is a duty of each and every devotee to preach. Whoever we may be, wherever we may be, we should try to find opportunity to preach the glories of the Lord. Otherwise, we cannot repay the debt, whatever we have received, but we can show our gratitude to our parampara by preaching. That is very, very important and needed. When we preach, when we share this knowledge, that means we are showing our gratitude that much I have been given. At least I should try to do something to show my gratitude. That's why गंगा का जल गंगा में डाल रहे, गंगा कुछ होने वाला है. We will get benefited. आश्चर्यमेतद्धि मनुष्य लोके सुधाम परित्यज्य विषम पिबन्ति नामानि नारायण गोचराणि त्यक्त्वान्य वाचा कुहका पठन्ति. The same thing. People of the world, they are so foolish. Sudha chhod ke, they are giving up nectar and drinking poison. Holy names of the Lord, they are so chhod ke is sansar ka sab sun rahe. So that's how the tongue and the ear holes of a person who is not a devotee is being described here. Okay, so it's from here. Last few lines of the verse. The tongue which is given to the human being for chanting the Vedic hymns will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Grantra Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Dandavad pranam.
Hare Krishna.
None of